Hi, I'm Alice Peterkoff, and this video is designed to give you a tour of a sample course I've created on Articulate 360 to demonstrate what I can do with that creation software. So this course is called An Introduction to Green Living, and the goal of this course is to help adult learners choose a few changes that they can implement right away in their lifestyle to help them live more sustainably. The idea being that change doesn't happen all at once. If they want to live a more sustainable lifestyle, it's good to begin by building small. So there are two lessons that highlight different areas of growth. One of them is trash and the other is water conservation. And then finally, there is a sustainability plan reflection activity. All right, and as you may notice, Articulate 360 is of course viewable in all these different formats. And I've chosen to select to create a course that is approachable with mobile devices, tablets, and desktop computers. So the first lesson is called Are You Trashy? And the goal is to understand trash and help reduce their trash and consumption. So the register that I've chosen to use in my writing for this course is very informal. And the reason for that is to make it very approachable to adult learners who are doing this course for fun. If I was creating an HR seminar or another corporate training, I would use a more professional register. But here I've chosen to address learners directly in second person and make the writing fun and relevant to make learners feel comfortable. So I begin by giving them an introduction and identifying some of the challenges of trash, along with some statistics about why it matters. Then I list the learning aims of this particular lesson. This is a really important best practice in adult learning so that you can give learners the chance to track their own progression through the course materials and to track their own learning. So, in this lesson, you will do the following. Take your own personal trash audit to understand your current trash habits, identify key areas to change. So this is a formative assessment activity. 2, learn about shifts that would reduce your trash in these key areas. That's delivery of content. And 3, commit to trying 2 to 3 of those changes all month. That's a summative reflection activity for learners to process and reflect on the content. So I created a trash audit. This is a doc that they can download that has basically a table with different marks they can tally. Every time they throw something away, they'll tally it for a week and then reflect on the process and reflect on the top 3 items or categories that they threw in the trash or recycled this week. And that is to help them identify key areas to change. And I invite them to keep that in the back of their minds as they experience some video content. I've tried to provide multiple different points of reference and types of media for learners with different learning styles. So this one is a video I've embedded from YouTube. I've also included some further resources for them to read with a little bit of annotation so they'll understand what they're looking at. And then a participatory interactive where they can go ahead and take these different bullet points covered in the video and in the reading I provided above and rank them based on how easy they are to implement in their own lives. So I've used the matching activity and I've turned it into a ranking activity to help them reflect on their own setup. This is, again, another really important element in adult learning, that you give adult learners as much choice and autonomy as possible. And as long as you are creating relevant and engaging materials, the goal is to have those adults figure out how to apply them to their own life or performance, or habits in this case. So once they have completed this activity and ranked all the options, they'll click submit. And the final summative reflection invites them to review the list that they've just ranked and pick a few changes to commit to for that month. Now, the next lesson, Do Your Habits Hold Water, is about conserving water. So again, I've written an introduction to water conservation and issues in water management, and I've cited my sources so that they know where I've gotten these facts and can check up on them if they're interested to learn more. And I've tried very hard to connect and create urgency so that when they read this, they'll be motivated to continue working through the lesson. All right, then we are back to aims just like before. Interpret and understand your current daily water usage, just like the first aim was to do a formative assessment on their trash output in the previous lesson. Discover ways to reduce your water usage. Again, that's the content delivery piece. And 3, commit to 2 to 3 changes you can make to your water usage habits to reduce your impact. And that's that final summative reflection. And I've included an image that illustrates information I provided earlier about damming and its impact on the environment. All right, so the first step is to use this highly engaging water footprint calculator. It's an animated, gamified approach that helps ask many questions and helps adults visualize and understand exactly how much water they're using in their daily lives. Now, I could have created a game that would do that, but part of the goal of this whole introduction to green living, as I mentioned in my introduction, is to connect learners to resources that are already out there, but that they may not have known how to apply to themselves. So my goal here was to find some organizations and resources that are already out there and build them into my units, my lessons, so that learners can engage with them. All right, then I've created a simulation following the life of Susan, a fictitious character living in Santa Barbara, California, where she asks some questions and the learners have an opportunity to make some choices and get some visual feedback about their choices. Now, it's often been said that we are Stone Age minds in 21st century bodies. And that means that for learners, the more authentic and natural your feedback can feel, the more likely they are to really absorb it and learn from it. So in this case, rather than taking a quiz and getting a score, I have given them facial expressions through the simulation so that they can understand whether their actions are having a positive or negative effect on this character. And that tends to be more visceral and to stick a little harder than other forms of feedback that are more logical or numerical. All right, so as they've gone through these steps, they've been given opportunities. Now, this is a place where they can make mistakes. There are no consequences for answering the wrong answer. They'll just be looped back through. So in that way, it's also an opportunity to learn by doing. All right, now to reinforce what they did there in the simulation, I've included a house, a diagram of a house with information taken from the resources above, the simulation and the websites I list for them above. And I've included audio recordings to read aloud these examples for them as well, to give them multiple points of entry. So learners that are more auditory are able to engage in that way. Learners that are more visual can read and look at the pictures. All right, now once again, I've chosen to do the ranking activity. Repetition will help them move past just learning how to do the activity and help them really absorb the information in it. So they are asked to rank once again the bullet points of items they've already covered in the course, to help them bridge and connect those items to themselves. And then finally, they're asked to reflect, to create a summative reflection, and commit to some changes for the next month. Now, finally, there is a final larger reflection activity called the sustainability plan. And after an introduction explaining the goals of this plan to give them space to reflect on their current habits and commit to incremental change, I have 2 questions that focus on content from the earlier lessons. So in this case, the learner will commit to reducing waste with the following actions, and they're invited again with the same choices to choose 2 or 3 to commit to. And I want to reduce my water consumption with the following actions. They have opportunities to commit. I'll set a calendar reminder to check in with these goals. And you'll notice that I'm not giving them feedback after each question. I could ask them factual questions that have right or wrong answers, like how many gallons of water does the average American consume per day? Or how many pounds of trash does the average American make per month? I could do that, and then I would score it and give them a score, because that would be the most effective way to give them feedback in a final exam. But in this case, it's better aligned with the goals to have this be a self-reflection activity. So I'm not providing feedback after their choices. I want to give them the opportunity just to make their own choices. Now, in this question, I follow up on all the resources they were given throughout the different lessons. So they're invited to engage with one of these communities. And then they're invited to do a search for green initiatives in their areas to engage with, to align with what I mentioned earlier in the course, that collective action is really the ultimate goal. Individual action is really important, and collective action is the most practical way to make change. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me. Again, you'll notice that regardless of their score, they pass and get that check mark.